What other areas for cooperation are you looking at? Yes, the Boko Haram, the fight against Boko Haram is one. Are you also looking at migration issues? You know that just over the weekend we buried 26 girls in Italy. First of all, there has been criticism that the Nigerian Foreign Affairs Ministry was not particularly present. Is there an explanation for that?
Yes, there is an explanation for that. Our embassy in Rome was actually fully engaged all the time with the Italian authorities, and I think that some of the information that they were receiving, was not very accurate, so they were not informed when the burial was going to take place, But if not, up to that point, there had been total and full engagement on our side by the Nigerian embassy in Italy. But, coming back to a specific question about, the areas of cooperation, I think that the most important, I mean, they're all important, but I think the area of trade is really going to be important because, trade, the economy is going to address so many of the other problems. The issue of migration, a lot of it has to do with the poverty levels in our country, and even the conflict that we have. A lot of it is also just to do with economics. So what we really have to get right is the job creation aspect, of the thrust of this government. And we're working very hard towards that. You've heard of all the major steps we've been taking in the context of ease of doing business, attracting greater foreign investment, and the U.S. government buy-in and engagement with us, that's the government itself, is sending a very important signal to the U.S. private sector because they often take the lead from the government. And so the vote of confidence that we're getting from the government, we're hoping is going to really rub off and make a big impact with the private sector and greater investment. And of course the AGOA, the African Growth Opportunities Act, is also another window that we have to exploit more to export our goods for market access, especially the U.S. market. So that's really key, and if we can make the strides that we need to make as quickly as possible, our population is growing, that's going to take care of so many other areas. Just
quickly, there was something he said in his opening statement to begin of this binational commission. He said, talking about the economy, additional progress is needed to reduce protectionist barriers and ensure predictable and transparent regulatory environment. How is Nigeria going to react to the fact they've been asked to reduce protectionist barriers?
Well, we do that anyway, and we have to do that because we're members of the World Trade Organization, and that's what the WTO is all about, reducing, protectionist barriers.
Is that in our favor?
Well, it's not a question of, it's a cost benefit. It is in our favor because we want to access other people's markets just as much as we want other people to invest in our countries. And if we don't play by the international trade rules, we're going to be shut out. And we don't have the capacity to, to go it alone. So it's absolutely important. One area that they are also, focusing on in that whole context of, certain trade and fiscal issues is also with the foreign exchange market. They're having issues, and a lot of other countries with, with two levels, a parallel market and the official rate. They obviously want to see total convergence, because you then have a playing field, a situation where, maybe some investors might be able to be favored with the official rate and others not. For them, this distorts the market and has issues, to do with, with competition. So those are some of the things they want us to address. But they understand, some of the challenges that we're facing, that we cannot overnight open up our currency to allow it to float, you see. So, but they want to see that we are working, towards a greater convergence of our foreign exchange markets, So, So you're absolutely right. I mean, but that is really where it has to all be decided. We're making huge strides in the World Bank ratings on ease of doing business. You know, we're moving in the right direction. We want to move further and in the right direction, and we just need more investment. We need to create jobs for our people. Otherwise, it's just going to exacerbate all the other problems we have. We were already talking about almost $1 billion, you know, invested in the ABIA, in the power sector, you know, there's another investment that's being done, I think, also in the power sector in Lagos, you know, and these are very tangible, you know, because as I said, the U.S. private sector really looks to the U.S. government to, you know, to give direction, you know. Their confidence in markets, a lot of it is going to be based very often on, you know, what messaging they're getting from the U.S. government. And so it's really, really important to have that level of confidence. And, you know, during the General Assembly in New York, we had a large business forum, and a large number of U.S. businesses were there, and a lot of them that invest in Nigeria. And they were all making it clear the confidence they have in Nigeria, notwithstanding the various challenges we're facing now. They really do believe that Nigeria is an attractive market, and they want to be there for the long term. And a lot of that, as you know, business is all about confidence, you know, and so that's why the BNC is important, for us to keep engaged with the U.S., to know those areas that the U.S. might have problems with, you know, that we might need to address, and to ensure that we're more or less on the same page, because the U.S. is a very, very important business partner for Nigeria. And so the BNC is the main institutional framework for our cooperation, and it's a comprehensive cooperation. All the different sectors are involved, so it's huge. It's very important. You know, we sort of looking at what the U.S. can do for us, but I think even more important is what we can and should be doing for ourselves, and our development will really depend on what we do for ourselves. You see, this is not a charity, you know. The U.S. investing in Nigeria is not just for Nigeria. It's predominantly enlightened. It's not even enlightened. It's self-interest, you know. And that's the same with everybody. That's what trade is all about. So we have to look after our interests. We have to push our interests. We have to try and get market access. You know, we have to try and... There are many competing markets for investments. You know, every country is looking for investments from other countries. So that's why we have the Presidential Enabling Business Environment Council, you know, to make Nigeria the attractive bride, you know, for all these potential investors seeking all that money.
So as a quick follow-up to that, sorry to interrupt you, are they happy with the progress? Are our partners happy with the progress that we're making, especially along the lines of democracy?
That's a very good question, and the answer is yes. You know, you heard it all today. I think they're extremely happy, and of course, you know, it coincides with the Anambra elections that just taken place. You know, which shows, you know, Mr. President's commitment to genuine democracy. Mr. President is not about imposing results on states. You know, he just wants a level playing field, transparent elections. And the Americans, you know, have really congratulated that, and I think they get that message. And those are some of the building blocks that people don't, you know, often see, that, you know, that bodes well for this country long term. You know, Mr. President's approach of putting in place, you know, these building blocks, you know, transparent, honest elections, the security, you know, and these are the kind of things that resonate very well with the international community, and will make, you know, Nigeria a much more attractive place to do business in.